Hello everyone, this is Hakaym, and we are finally back playing some more World of Warships. Don't really mean finally, but we're finally back taking a look at the light cruisers, and that's actually what I'm really excited for, is once you get past the Dallas, you get up to the Helena, or Helena, however you want to say it, and I really do like this ship. She is a fun ship. I would say she's like a mix between the Megami and the Atlanta. Very fast firing guns, but you have 15 turrets. So very similar style to the Miyoko. The third turret does face backwards, so that does mean it does take a little bit longer for it to switch sides. But she's a nice cruiser. I really have had a lot of fun with the Helena. We have a Ranger, Saran Horse, New Mexico, Congo, Atlanta, Helena, two Bajonis, Emerald, Emil Burton, Furutaka, and a Minakaze. Enemy team has a Saipan, Colorado, Arizona, Koenig, Atlanta, Shores, Leander, Galley, two Omahas, Konigsberg, and a Mutsuki. And we are playing on Trident, playing Domination. And as any ship of the US light cruiser line, it really does like islands a lot. But even at this distance, and I know it's an Omaha. Oh, this poor Omaha. What are you doing? Switched over to AP and 15 guns. That's a lot of guns. Ooh, 4 Citadels, lost the majority of his health. This Omaha is going to go down very quickly. Now, do keep in mind, the AP, they're 152mm guns, so they are going to struggle against more heavily armored ships. But your main focus is going to be HE. So we do get the kill on that Omaha, which was actually kind of nice. So your main focus is going to be predominantly HE. It's just kind of how the light cruisers are more suited built. Now, close up, your APs, you're probably going to be your better choice, especially against broadside targets. But as you can see there, we did get at least 7 penetrations. And once again, it's 15 shells, which is just so much fun. Just shooting so many shells. It really takes you back to the old days of the Megami. So HE is going to be your primary focus. Shooting over islands is really good. Your great DD killer, once again coming back to the whole fact you have 15 guns and they're fairly tight. Dispersion is fairly tight in a lot of instances. Like in that case, we actually landed 9 hits on this slightly angled galley. So you can do quite a substantial amount of damage. Now, longer ranges, as per usual, there is the arcing, but they don't feel that bad. As you can see there, it's going to take 10 seconds for our rounds, almost 10.5 seconds for our rounds just to arrive at target. So there is a little bit of wait time for you to even land. And they do tend to break. Now, I believe this replay has where my captain does not have IFHE, and as I've been saying, IFHE is going to be your main focus. It's definitely going to be one of your skills that you should be getting, because it deals and helps your guns quite a bit, because it does increase the penetration value by 30%. So it can more easily penetrate more thickly armored targets. Now, if you don't have it, your fire chance is actually really good. I believe it is around 12%. And with 15 shells coming down, you're going to get a lot of fires. So fires are your next best bet as far as dealing damage. And she's a good fire starter. And that's kind of why I was thinking she's a very good kind of combination between a Atlanta and a Megami. You have the shell output of a Megami with the reload and fairly hard hitting as far as causing fires. There's 2 fires on that Colorado, racking up the damage. Now, unfortunately, we don't see the Saipan. We did see him over here briefly, and the AA is decent for a light cruiser. You do have defensive AA, you do have a fighter for support. So as far as AA, it is fairly decent, but without any benefits to your AA range. Your AA range goes around 4.7 kilometers. So it is very limited without any advanced firing training skills or modules. You will struggle there, but it's still fairly potent for any AA crew or carriers. Sorry, any airplanes to come over you will mean they're quick demise. Now, there is an issue with the USN cruiser, and that's to say with any USN cruiser, anything past the Omaha. Now, if something tries to rush you, there's not much you can do because you have no way to offer a high damage output salvo with relative ease. Like a Leander, British cruisers have torpedoes. USN cruisers do not have torpedoes, and as you probably guess, the Leander has dropped torpedoes, and yeah, saw that coming and actually almost get hit by these, but fortunately we do manage to get away. Now, I could have popped my hydro, and that's another thing. The Helena does get hydro. Now, she doesn't have radar available for her. That's not Tilda Cleveland, obviously. That would make it a little OP, just a little bit. But the thing is, hydro's decent, but you're gonna struggle trying to really take down any enemy destroyers, and this battle is wrapping up very, very quickly. The enemy team just kind of crumpled, did not cap at all, and they are gonna lose on cap. So this is a very short kind of glimpse on the Helena. I really highly recommend her. I think she's a very, very strong ship. And that's going to be it for this battle here. And as you can see, we did earn a victory. Brought home 248,925 silver, 3,547 XP, 103,597 points of damage, 206 shell hits. If you're needing ribbons, Helena's a good ship to go with. You can definitely get those ribbons relatively quickly. 2 kills, 7 fires, 5 citadels. One thing to keep in mind is that your AP can be very useful, so do use your AP, but you are going to be limited on what targets you can actually citadel. As far as base XP, 1,496, the enemy team just crumpled relatively quickly. Not much they could really have done. They probably could have tried to cap it a little bit more, but as far as damage, most of our damage was against the Omaha and predominantly against the Colorado. Main shells, as far as high explosive, did around 29,582. AP 38,899. That's not always going to be the case with the Helena. You're gonna be using a lot of HE with this ship. Not saying AP is not relevant, but this is probably one of those instances where we could get some nice juicy citadels. Fires, as you can see, were another main staple, 35,116 points of damage. Now, unfortunately, you don't see a bad aspect of the Helena in that video. You will be taking a lot of damage, and we will be taking a look at the armor scheme here in a moment. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into port, and we'll take a look at the armor scheme and everything else. So I will see you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome back to the port. And as you can see, New York City is all fancied up, especially considering the USN light cruisers came out, and also 4th of July is actually here tomorrow, I believe, after this video is up. So great time to be looking at the USN cruiser line. And the Helena, as I mentioned very quickly in that last battle, I really like the ship. I highly recommend her. I think she's even a keepsake. I think she's very capable. I really do enjoy playing with her. So let's actually go ahead and look at the stats. Survivability 33,300 compared to like the New Orleans, which is obviously going to have a little bit more health. New Orleans also has much better armor than the Helena. Helena is once again a light cruiser, so she's going to be very vulnerable, especially along her sides for armor piercing. Might be lucky enough to get away with actually just being overpinned. That as I have shot at Helena's with Battleship AP, they tend to be overpinned. So something to keep in mind is that you can definitely miss the Citadel with your armor piercing and get overpinned. So that's the only thing going for her, but she is extremely fragile. She will take Citadels. Citadels does sit just slightly above the waterline. And her turrets also tend to get knocked out. So another thing to keep in mind is your turrets will get knocked out, and you will probably want to spec something to prevent them from being knocked out. As far as armor, 165 is the very thickest. Torpedo protection is very minimal, only 7%. So you're once again a light cruiser. Moving on to the artillery. Oh, I like the guns. You have 5 triple 152 millimeters Miyoko configuration, 3 turrets facing backwards, 2 facing forward. They reload every 8.5 seconds. With adrenaline rush, that definitely can be improved. The turret time is decent, 20.7 seconds. Dispersion is fairly tight, 124 meters at a range of 14.6 kilometers, and that's something to keep in mind. Her kilometers not the greatest. 14.6 is relatively small, but for the most part you're going to be using islands, so camping is going to be your whole scheme. Moving on to the HE damage, 2200 with a 15% fire chance. I was a little bit wrong. It will be reduced if you get IFHE, but unfortunately I don't think this captain actually does have IFHE. So something to keep in mind, it will be reduced after you get IFHE. AP damage, max damage is 3,200, and as always, your AP shell velocity is 762 meters per second versus 812 meters per second for the HE. So slight slowdown on the velocity whenever firing AP, so you do have to allow for that lead difference between the two shell types. She does have secondary guns, 4 dual, 127 millimeters, HE rounds, 6 seconds, 1800 shell damage with a 8% fire chance and a 4.7 kilometer range. Her AA guns are decent. They're actually fairly capable. You have 10 single 20 millimeters. Average damage is 40 with 2 kilometer range. 4 dual 20 millimeters. Average damage is 27 with a 2 kilometer range. Then you have 4 dual 40 millimeters. Average damage is 50 with a 3.5 kilometer range. And these are where you're probably going to be getting most of your damage. 4 quad 40 millimeter Bofors. Average damage is 70 with a 3.5 kilometer range. And then your secondaries offer additional. Average damage is 66 with a 5 kilometer range. Once again, do keep in mind, if you get AFT and BFT, if you really want to go the full AA spec, that will definitely help your AA damage. Moving on to maneuverability, once again running speed flag, so around 32 knots is her normal speed, 34.1 after the speed flag. Turning circle radius is fairly quick at 680 meters with a rudder shift time of 7.3 seconds. Concealment is decent at tier 7. 10.1 kilometer. You do once again have around 4.5 kilometer buffer between being able to shoot and being detected. Detectability range by air is actually fairly small, 6.7 kilometers. Your AA will go out to around 5 kilometers, so there is a slight difference between being detected and also being able to actually use your AA guns. So do keep that in mind. It's not like the Atlanta as far as being able to open up with your AA guns as soon as you are detected by planes. While firing in smoke is 5.6 kilometers. Moving on to modules, per usual, I don't see a lot of difference in as far as upgrades. As always, go for the range upgrade before you go for the B hull. This obviously will allow you to survive a little bit longer because you are obviously going to be a little bit further back. So go for the range, then the hull upgrade. As far as the modules, go for the very standard build. You can very easily go for AA Gun Mod 2. That will buff the AA range by 20%, which is going to make it definitely a lot better against any planes incoming. So if you want to focus that, you can. I went for aiming system, just make the guns a little bit more accurate, because CVs are not overly common, but a little bit more common in lower tiers, but overall you still are fairly potent against planes. As far as consumables, you do have defensive AA with a fighter plane and hydro, so you obviously don't get the radar, but you still have that hydro to spot torpedoes or potentially spot any DDs and smoke if you are crazy enough to get close. But once again, you have a lot of guns that can very quickly wipe out a enemy DD. Moving on to my captain. This captain is still being worked on. Priority target, as I really do enjoy the knowledge that's knowing someone is aiming at me, but another potential would be incoming fire alert, but I much prefer the priority target, as you have more time in advance being able to maneuver rather than waiting to be alerted on the incoming. And now this could obviously be argued back and forth. But anyways, moving on, second skill, expert marksman. You could probably opt out for this, as this only gives you 0.7%. You could probably focus skills points on a different type of skill. I would recommend Adrenaline Rush just because it's fairly potent, especially late game. Demolition Expert, I would recommend either Superintendent. You could probably opt out of it. You could get Basics Firing Training, Concealment Expert as always, Advanced Firing Training, and IFHE. Highly recommend IFHE for the USN light cruisers. This will just make you that much more capable of dealing alpha damage, and then getting fires on top of that, because once again you have a lot of shells. But anyways, this is gonna be it for this quick little look at the Helena. Hopefully this has inspired you guys to go and potentially research and get the ship. I do recommend her, and I do have a lot of fun with her. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.